This is David Yisrael. Today's video is on the solar eclipse we had today. Is this eclipse significant for the time we are in? Yes, it is. Is there a Jewish perspective on solar eclipses? Yes, there are. I will read an article from the Chabad website. The sages of the Talmud state, when the luminaries are stricken, it is an ill omen for the world. To what can we compare this? To a king of flesh and blood who prepared a feast for his servants and set a lantern to illuminate the hall. But then he became angry with them and said to his servant, "Take the lantern from before them and seat them in darkness." The Talmud then goes on to describe the particular sins for which the luminaries are stricken. The most simple explanation, an eclipse is not caused by sin. Rather, it is an indication of a trying time, a time when there is a natural predisposition for sin and for strict judgment of that sin. Time in traditional thought is not homogeneous. The Talmud provides many other examples of the good and bad seasons of time. Certain times are a better opportunity to take a specific action. Being born at certain times creates a predilection for a specific mode of behavior, for good or for the opposite. Obviously, this does not contradict a fundamental principle of Jewish thought that human beings have free will. Freedom is granted to every person, states the Mishnah, whether to be righteous or the opposite. If so, it is impossible that your innate predisposition should draw you immutably to good or bad. Rather, the sign under which you are born merely creates within you a proclivity toward certain behaviors. With effort, you can overcome your natural tendencies and even transform them. The same is true regarding eclipses and other signs in the heavens. When God created the world, he created signs in the heavens for people to be aware of times when there would be a greater predisposition for sin and punishment. The eclipse itself does not necessarily mean that people will act on that predisposition and actually sin, thereby causing punishment. Rather, it is a generous warning. Take care at this time. Put more effort into doing good. Avoid situations that may tax your moral fortitude. In the creation story at the beginning of the book of Genesis, the Torah states, "And God said, let there be luminaries in the expanse of the heavens, and they shall be for signs and for appointed seasons and for days and years." The classic commentaries explain that "they shall be for signs" is a reference to eclipses. Thus we learn that these phenomena are meant to be a sign for us. At the same time, the prophet Jeremiah proclaims, "Hearken to the word that the Lord spoke about you, O house of Israel. So says the Lord, of the way of the nations you shall not learn, and from the signs of the heaven be not dismayed." In other words, these are indeed signs of the heaven, yet the prophet tells us that we should not fear them. For as the sages of the Talmud explain, as long as one acts properly, there is nothing to fear. The other thing regarding the eclipse today is the beginning of the new moon, which will happen tonight over tomorrow. And the other thing, we start a new moon, which will begin the month of Elul on the Hebrew calendar. This month is a very important month preceding the high holy days of Rosh Hashanah, or otherwise known as Yom Teruah, the Feast of Trumpets, and Yom Kippur. During the month of Elul, it is a time of introspection and self-examination. We seek to right ourselves with our walk with God and with our fellow man. If there is any wrong that we have done to our fellow man, to our neighbors, we have to go to them and ask them for forgiveness. If somebody has wronged us, we don't have to forgive them. You can choose to forgive them if you are indeed truly forgiving them. And I'm going to do another video right after this on forgiveness because I don't want to split this video from the focus of the eclipse. So I'm going to explain forgiveness and its concepts, which might be a little foreign to Christian viewers. So in regards to forgiveness, it is a time where we're seeking forgiveness from God and seeking atonement. And for forgiveness to be proper, it has to be genuine from your heart. Now, I'm coming from a real perspective in that I'm struggling with a lot of things in my life right now regarding forgiveness. I don't know how well I'm going to do this year in regards to genuinely forgiving people. I will again address this in the next video, but I want the viewers to know that I'm not making this to preach to you, to tell you what to do. I'm in the same situation that probably you're finding yourself in. You're struggling with something, and I indeed struggle with this issue. The Jewish month of Elul is a preparation time for our hearts and to be honest with ourselves and God. And then at the end of this month, the beginning of Tishri next month, is Rosh Hashanah, 2 days of that feast. And then the Shabbat Shuvah, which is on September 23rd, which we've discussed in the first video on Revelation 12. And then we have Yom Kippur. I do believe this is very significant for the time that we are in. And I don't think it's by chance that the eclipse trailed across the United States. I think this is a particular sign to this country in particular that the people need to start doing some introspection and self-examination and turn from what they're doing. What are we doing as a nation? That's a big subject. It's very complicated. I could say that we're causing a lot of war, misery, death, destruction. There's a lot of things that we're doing that we're not paying attention to. I think ignorance is the largest of the sins, but on a personal level, I can't do anything about the millions of people in this country. I can only do something about myself. I have a struggle with my walk with God, especially after the last 3 years of a broken marriage I've been in with a covert narcissistic woman who abused me so terribly that I'm suffering extreme psychological trauma. Her abuse literally completely brought my walk with God to an end 2 years ago, and I've been in a grip with God since. So my struggle is real, and I know there are other people struggling out there as well with their walk with God. I can't answer everything in regards to what your struggle might be because I can't even answer what my struggle is. I'm struggling with the idea that God allows little children and families and innocent people to be blown up, napalmed, chemically attacked and murdered, beheaded at the hands of extremist Islamists, pedophiles, raping, molesting, and murdering children, rapists, murderers, the cruelty that people do to each other. I remember for 2 years I prayed that God would send me a wife. The 6 months prior to meeting my second wife, I really had my God act together. I was really pushing hard. I was trying to overcome a lot of things. I was dealing with things. I was talking to Rabbi. I was reading and studying and praying and doing all that stuff. And I met my first wife, and within a year I was on the process of being broken. And what she did to me 2 weeks after we were married, an event that happened on Yom Kippur, which I mentioned in the last video I uploaded, of all the days for it to happen on that day, completely broke me. I am really struggling in my walk with God and my thoughts regarding why every time I have sought Him have I been thrown under the bus. I've cried out to Him since I was 7 years old, so I don't have an answer for a lot of the stuff. I don't understand why we have to go through an end times, why we have to have evil, destructive people, why we have to be hurt, why do we have to suffer because of the actions of others. I don't have an answer for all of this because I'm just a simple person. I can give you my knowledge and share that with you. What is a solar eclipse about? What is the Jewish thought on Revelation 12 or any passage in the New Writings? I can give you the Jewish thought on forgiveness or whatever it might be. And so can any rabbi and a lot of other people. My struggle is my own. It's unique to me. You might identify with my struggle. And I think the thing that I'm keeping in mind is that I'm struggling. I haven't given up. And I don't want you to give up. If you're struggling, continue to struggle, because I'm certain within that struggle we're somehow going to find the answer. So it's a good thing if you're struggling, and keep struggling. Don't give up that struggle. This is what my name means, struggles with God. And I'm doing just that. As long as I'm struggling, I haven't given up.